If I were to rank every Sega Genesis game I've played since the system launch, I'm not sure there's a worse game I've played than Super Hang On. I did play the original Hang on this channel when it was part of the Shenmue arcade collection because I rented Shenmue on the Xbox One and I got a chance to play that game on this channel. And you can see the game. I guess it's an emulated version of the original arcade game. Looked stunning. Wasn't much of a game, but it looked amazing. This is not. This is the Genesis port of that. And look, I don't think anyone was getting a Sega. Okay, let's be honest. There was some expectation back in the late 1980s that a 16-bit console would be what was necessary to bring this super scalar arcade racing experience home. This, I believe, was a launch title, and unfortunately, it is probably. I don't know if it's worse than Altered Beast, but once I actually played this game, I realized, oh my god, they they were they actually made a racing game on the Genesis as a launch title that runs worse than Rad Racer did on the Super NES. I have no idea what was going on. Outrun a Crisis, huh? We'll see if I can listen to the music. I'll sprinkle it in with this video if I have to. So let's see how bad this game actually plays. This is part of the Sega Genesis 6-pack. Guess I hit the wrong button. I hit the B button. I was supposed to hit the B button. Curve? Why curve? Well, we're starting to get a lot of input lag here, and the frame rate's starting to tank as soon as this tumbleweed starts to show up. So we're already in trouble. I mean, yeah, you got this massive, well-drawn sprite in the middle of the screen. That's good to know, but it's a shame about the frame rate. Again, this was competing with what? Rad Racer? Mach Rider? What the heck is even happening? Yeah, I wasn't expecting the animation to be as good as the arcade game, but I guess I was expecting the frame rate to be way better. This is insane. Again, I'm capturing this at 60 frames a second. What would be the point? How many frames do you think we're losing? How many frames are we wasting by trying to capture this at 60? Now, I'm playing this on a CRT, by the way, so let's not kid ourselves. Out the way! Yeah, so yeah, I remember I was on the Sega Genesis subreddit, and people were like, "Yeah, it's super bad on. Always have input lag this bad." I'm like, "Yep, it's built. It's the feature. It's a feature. It's in the game." It is kind of bizarre to me that for all of the people touting the Sega Genesis power back in this era, how so many Genesis games just had terrible frame rates. Like for the shooters, obviously ran well, and Sonic ran amazing. But I mean, it's like this game, a bunch of racing games, Galaxy Force, Super Thunderblade, all those games just had terrible frame rates. It's like they were compromising the idea of 60 frames a second as an ideal, and just saying, you know what, let's just see if we can get these massive graphics on screen, just kind of move them around. But again, look how choppy everything is. This isn't even a demo. It's almost like it feels like a first draft of a demo, and they said, "Whoops, well we'll clean it up before launch," and then whoops, and then they were gonna clean it up before launch, and they never did. It's sad, really. I'm not gonna make this checkpoint, am I? So I guess it's worth it to add the music to the video after the fact. So we'll probably get around to that eventually. Ah! Oof. Well, we're out. So we're not gonna hit the checkpoint, kids. Mercifully. The arcade game with some pretty fat bass. This does okay, I suppose. Yeah, man, did you know the NES is for kids? This is your big brother's console, am I right? I beat the high score though. So yeah, that's out. That's that is Super Hang-On, being played on the Sega Genesis 6-pack cartridge with 6 other games that I'll get to later. But man, um, man, oh man, so basically the frame rate's fine until anything shows up on screen, then just completely tanks because somehow the Genesis can't keep up. Wow, dog. Like I have not played Super Monaco GP. I want to say I sampled it at a kiosk when it launched, but this is one of those Sega Genesis games that I never got my hands on when I was a kid. And I know I would have loved the yeah, I would have loved the that massive avatar in the middle of the screen, but the frame rate being as choppy as it is seems really weird. I'm really fast. Me a Ferrari. I guess I should just race. If it's money, let me know. It's so money I don't know. I don't even know. Let's just try all the music. I don't have a lot of nostalgia for old Sega music because I never grew up listening to it. But I'm getting into it now, because I have original hardware, and I've heard some people, I've heard some YouTube sites where they they modify their Sega Genesis, like the one I have, with the headphone jack and the volume slider. They modify it so they can get a cleaner sound out of the console, and they're capturing it, and they're using VGM files apparently. They're really leaning into it. I mean, personally, I would just play the game on a personally, I would just play the game on with a headphone jack plugged into an HDMI converter, and that'd be fine. Because I would record music on audio cassette, so this would work for me. So there's no timer. I mean, there's a stopwatch, but there's no checkpoint. So I guess that's okay. But yeah, this frame rate is god awful, man. I'm not astonished Sega would let this go because they needed a launch title to show off how much better this console looks compared to the NES. And well, I guess these characters do look a little bit better than the Ferrari does in Rad Racer, but the frame rate absolutely sucks. Like, what are you really getting out of this? It's an example of, it's almost like, well, the Master System couldn't even make the game look this good. So it's like they invested too much time in just trying to see if they can get like a few palm trees and rocks on the side of the road. But yeah, this frame rate is god awful, man. It's like Space Harrier on the Genesis is the same problem. So I mean, yeah, look, like the avatars you were controlling on screen kind of looked reasonably well detailed, but everything around them is just terrible. That's the problem. Eh, yeah, so I guess this music's okay. that wipe out. I mean, obviously you're cutting back on a lot of the animation that was in the arcade game. Because this is like a this had yeah, this was obviously not an 8 megabit cartridge. I wouldn't be shocked if it were a 2 megabit cartridge just to save money. Which would mean they would have to cut back on the sprite scaling effects, obviously, but there's still the problem of the game still runs like crap with all this input lag. Like again, really laggy controls for a racing game. That again, I played this game for the first time a month ago on this CRT on this hardware, and I'm like, this was a launch game for the Genesis. I'm astonished how bad this thing is. I'm not even using the brakes. I mean, why use the brakes? I mean, why use the brakes even? Let's be honest. Just let off the accelerator. Some games require you to use the brakes or to use some kind of drifting mechanic, but not in this game, I would argue. This is no Outrun Coast to Coast. I think we can admit that. And apparently the Sega Genesis Outrun game was terrible too. Jeremy Parrish is over on his channel finishing up the Master System releases for the year, I want to say. Like, he's finishing up like the last Master System games that came out before the Genesis dropped. And he's like, look, we can't do Thunderblade on the Sega Master System. It's like Rygar. Don't even bother trying. It's like Strider. Like, just don't bother. Just make a completely different game and slap the Thunderblade name on it. And of course, they tried doing Space Harrier on the Master System. The darn thing should not even have run, but that doesn't mean it doesn't look like crap. But again, like, could you do Space Harrier on the NES? Well, they tried. They made World Runner, but that wasn't really that really wasn't much of a Space Harrier clone. It's entirely possible I'm gonna have to reduce the resolution, which is fine. I'm not opposed to that. But it's not like it's downsampling too much. Like, this game is being upscaled to 1080p by the DVD recorder that I'm using as a pass-through. And then the HDMI is spitting it out at 1080p, and then the Vivitar USB dongle that I'm using to capture this footage is downsampling it to 768p. So it's like a Super VGA capture. Is that EVGA or Super VGA? I think. Okay, I lost my sync again. Give me a second. Okay, we're going to do 720p for this part. Let's see if that cleans it up. Give me a second. I apologize for that. I'll strip that out of the video. Yeah. So I can blame the input. I can blame the input lag. I can't blame the input lag on the hardware because it works fine with all the other games I'm playing. I think I just lost my sync again. Yeah, the signal is, huh? Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens the next time I lose the signal. I'm very curious why that's going out. And I'm out. I didn't lose, but what would losing have entailed, given what I just did? $1,200. You're fast, but you've lost. Mia. The frame got to be changed. The frame got to be changed. Why? Yeah, I took a couple of crashes. Top condition. Top condition. The muffler got to be changed. So I guess I crashed too much. Alright, so now it's in top condition. Do I have enough money to repair the iron cradle? Parts. Mechanic. Okay! So did he do the thing? She's 1,000. Takashi Honda. Tom Jones! Literally, just Tom Jones. Not unusual. Sonia Ilvich. Mickey Way. He's... How many zeros is that? $2 million! Pretty sure I don't have that kind of cash. Can't go to the pharmacy. What's the pharmacy even for? So you can sponsor me for $1,200? What would the point of being a sponsor be? Anyway. Race! Music might be worth sampling later. So it's like pole position. I can't get any closer. I gotta earn my position, I guess. They always speed up ahead of me. It's the opposite of Mario Kart. Yeah, this input lag is really awful. So this feels... Well, it's not a sim. It's supposed to be an arcade game. Well, there goes my iron cradle, I guess. Yep! Lost the iron cradle. Oh, well. I don't just crawl. Insert song lyric here. Mechanic. Okay, race. Let's try again. Oh, my frame is broken, so I can't run! Okay, so my frame is broken, so I guess I lost 2 races. I got my password, yay! I don't know what's going on with my signal. I might need a new HDMI controller, but like I said, this game sucks. Let's not spend too much time playing this. So I got my password. Let me set up another audio. Let me set up another connection. Let me see what's up. Okay, I replaced the HDMI cable that I think was causing the problems. We'll see what happens. Though I'm admittedly losing interest in playing any more Super Hang-On. So I probably have to fill time by playing something else. But this frame rate is killing any interest I have in playing any more of this game. Like, I played half an hour of this game earlier, and I said, wow, I can't imagine playing this game for very long. I will not hang on to play more of Hang On, I'm afraid. So let's try Winning Run. Get going. Don't have to worry about my broken iron cradle, huh? Yeah, so really, I think the problem isn't really the choppiness, it's the input latency being as awful as it is. That's pretty much indefensible, I would argue. Music's probably okay, but this frame rate is kind of indefensible with all this choppiness and all the sluggish controls. Extremely disappointing. There's no map that shows all the curves coming up ahead, so maybe when I die, a map will show up. I don't remember. Yeah, just kind of you can hold on to the accelerator and just kind of tap on the tap left on the D-pad. That seems to be working. But yeah, it's the opposite of what Sega might have wanted. Kind of peppy, splashy, responsive. The kind of peppy, splashy, responsive game. Did the game invert the left and right audio channels? Laid off the accelerator there. So I can drift a little bit inside. Careful. Don't touch the trees. That ran right into that one. Just incredibly sloppy. It's almost like they didn't know how to like make. It's all, like we're not gonna pretend that Sega never made a racing game on a home console before, but it's like, shouldn't this game run better than an NES game? Really? Like, is it that hard to emulate Rad Racer on the Genesis? Or at least make a game like Rad Racer on the Genesis? Wow. Tanked. Yeah, man, this game sucks. Sega games can be a vibe, really. They can be a vibe. On top again. Despite crashing twice, your boy's always on top. Yeah. So I guess we'll try one more, but yeah, I'm not holding out much hope. I guess we'll try them both. Really, just again, I can't emphasize how disappointing this is. This is a D tier Genesis game. Well, like I don't want to call it a failure, but yeah, this thing is pretty close to this is like D plus at best. I mean, maybe the original mode makes the game a little bit more interesting because you can upgrade and fix your bike, but again, just the frame rate just tanks any interest I have whatsoever in playing this game. A massive disappointment for a racing game, especially on the Genesis of all things. Like you could show a picture of this guy leaning over in his bike in a magazine or on an advertisement and say like, "Yeah, that looks amazing. I want to play that." Nintendo can't do that, and you're like, you don't need to because you gotta have a Ferrari and Rad Racer. It's not a Rad Racer is not an amazing game. Like I would argue, there's very little depth to it. I mean, the original mode in this game arguably has more depth than Rad Racer does. But let's not kid ourselves here, kids. What kind of game do you think we're playing? Out the way. Okay, I'm not sure I can hit this checkpoint. So we can maintain something resembling a high speed. Again, the sense of speed really isn't there either. It's just, yeah, just it's just not there. 0 miles per hour. 0 kilometers per hour. Yeah, shame. Morobar? Monobear? Moroboro. Moroboro, I guess. Yeah, Moroboro. Sure. They advertise smoking to kids in video games. That would be amazing. I was gonna say, where's the turn? Sneak inside on him. Yeah, like I haven't played very many Genesis racing games, so I'm curious if Super Monaco GP isn't terrible. Doesn't sound like my thing, but I'm curious about it. But it's not included on here. I guess I thought it was included as part of this set. But I want to say Golden Axe is also a terrible game, so that's when I get around to playing that again, that's going to be a D tier game. I played it a lot in the arcades though, but it's an extremely mediocre brawler. So yeah, this isn't the best impression you can make for a Genesis. It includes Streets of Rage, which is what I would say it's probably a C plus game. Streets of Rage is fine if you like don't abuse the stun lock tricks. And if you play on the hardest difficulty level and don't abuse the stun lock tricks, it's fine. The sequel's clearly better. Well, I made it to stage 3. So I could remove my headphones and just I can avoid the commentary entirely and let's listen to the music. This is filler content, I suppose. Yeah. I really don't have I don't have much else to say about this game. It's a massive disappointment. We'll try one more track and then end this entire farce. So, still probably the worst Genesis game I've played so far. As in worse than Golden Axe, worse than Fatal Labyrinth. A couple of other games I forgot to get around to playing, but yeah, this one's pretty miserable. Shame. Expert. Not outrun a crisis, outride a crisis. Imagine spending $50 on launch for this game. Yeah, I got a Genesis. What am I going to play? Well, it comes with Altered Beast. That would be amazing. I mean, we got Super Hang-On's amazing, I guess. Again, I hope that Super Monaco GP doesn't suck. There's a flashing building in the background. I don't know why. There's a flashing building right there coming up over my head. Yeah, what are those flashing buildings in the background? Not particularly well drawn either. They're literally rectangles. Like I could draw that on Windows Paint. Now this dude right here is a very good image though. I would love to be able to practice drawing a guy who looks this good. But yeah, the rest of the game, kind of trash. Shame. Shame. Yeah, like I don't know. I need to ask around. Like, what racing game should I be playing on the Genesis? Because I'm curious about Super Monaco GP, but I don't really know much about it. People always talk about on the NES, like on the Super NES, people will talk about games like Top Gear. Top Gear isn't amazing. I mean, it's a little bit, it's almost as choppy as this game, especially in 2-player mode. I think. Nigel Mansell, the Nigel Mansell racing game I played on this channel. It's not amazing, but it's a decent sim, I guess. It's a decent racing sim for the era. I mean, it's no Forza, but I mean, come on. It's a Super NES game with sim elements. It was a big deal back at the time. I remember some people were like raving about that Nigel Mansell game because it was like the Gran Turismo of its era when it came out for some people. I'm not gonna make it, am I? Yeah, I made it. I made it. Woo! Okay. Stage 3, let's go. I don't think I have enough juice to get to the next waypoint, though. And again, these are other racers. They're just obstacles. It's like pole position. They're just pace cars. They're moving obstacles. They're moving obstacles. Let's go. 'Cause I'm probably not gonna make it. Yeah, like I remember, like what was it? Nigel Mansell was reasonably well respected on the Super NES at the time among some racing fans. Obviously, everyone loves Mario Kart and F Zero's. I think F Zero's aggressively mid, but Mario Kart's a legitimately good racing game. It's an arcade racer, obviously. And I mean, there are at least 2 dozen racing games on the console. I want to say, like first person, like character action racers. You know, not like Super Off Road or anything. We're not talking about that. Ubisoft even had a kart racing game on that console. I think it was called Street Racers. But yeah, on the Genesis, I'm drawing a blank. Like, is there like what's the Gran Turismo of racing games on this console? Not Road Rash. Again, that doesn't count. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. Because obviously I know this game and I know Outrun, but I don't think anyone really. I don't think the Genesis port of Outrun is highly regarded, really. Yeah, man. I'm drawing a blank. So I'll tell you what. I'll take the audio out so you can listen to the music, if that's possible, and I'll cut off the video if it doesn't do that. If it doesn't include the video. So this is a Super Hang On, excuse me, played as part of the Genesis 6-pack on original hardware. It's a Model 1 that includes the volume slider and the headphone jack. It has that incredibly noisy composite video output to my DVD recorder, the Magnavox DVD recorder. It outputs a very noisy signal via composite video to my JVC DVD combo unit from like 2003, 2004 era. When I plug this Genesis into the TV directly, the picture's pretty good. But through this DVD recorder, it's like RF quality, so it's not amazing. But I'm able to output HDMI at 720p in this case out to my laptop. So I think the cable was probably just going bad. So I swapped the cable out to see if I can get a more reliable signal. So I'll rip out my audio, I'll rip out my headphones, and then we'll see if we can get the game audio to come back in. But yeah, this is a YTF for a Super. Hang on. Still, as of now, this game is down there with Space Harrier and Thunderblade, and the Golden Axe 1 and 2, arguably like bottom of the barrel Genesis games. I'm afraid. Had to get it out of my system, so I'll get it out of this system. But I'll let you listen to the music. That's at least worth listening to, I would argue. Too bad we can't listen to it. Can't listen to it without the audio, can we? Nope, we can't.